Welcome to this episode of The Latest Thread. Today we're pretty excited to be talking about social media, all about ways that we use it differently, how you can use it for just even personal, as well as how you can use it to help grow your business. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about how we do those things and how social media has kind of evolved over the years. We were just talking about that before we started recording, and how it used to be in the day it was just word of mouth. So social media was your customers or your friends sharing the news with other quilters and helping to grow your business. And so now we just have this bigger platform to use on the internet, which is pretty amazing how we can people. Karen, you're on my top left corner of my screen, so I think we should start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you use social media?
Well, when I first started, it was just my website and the blog. And I'm sure we all did this. We took business cards to the local quilt shops and, hoped that they would pass them out. Took samples and business cards to guild, and you joined every guild there was because that's where the quilters were. So, and I mean, it's evolved a little bit since then. Like, I still do my blog, but I originally had just my business. And as I started doing more competition pieces, I had to make another blog because everybody thought that, wow, you're doing 5 quilts a week. And I'm like, fine, I'm not piecing 5 quilts a week. So, now I have 2 blogs. And then, Facebook started, I guess, pretty heavily in 2007 or 8. I don't remember when it started, but I joined Facebook and just had a regular page, and then I said, wow, I think this would help my business. So I started my Facebook page for my business. I started my own Facebook page for my quilts, but I mean, it used to just be Flickr, and they had a thing called Web Shots. There was a lot of quilters on Web Shots. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, but yeah, but now you have to maintain it. Like, it's taken its whole life. You have to update your blogs. You have to update your pages. A week without a post, and you fall off of Facebook. So.
Well, that's kind of what the difference is from when we handed out business cards. You literally reached, the regional quilters in your area, that would bring you quilts. Mm-hmm. And depending where you're located, if it's saturated with long arm quilters, then, even though personally I find that there's enough work for everybody, but still, you still might infringe, and years ago when I first started quilting fathers, I would meet people at the quilt shop. Well, another long arm quilter had her time at the quilt shop, and she didn't like that, I would also go there to, and so, it was kind of awkward. So whereas with Facebook and social media or Instagram, you're able to reach quilters that are, national. So we are able to get quilts, from other parts of the country. But to me, I'm kind of a late bloomer with social media. It's still, somewhat out of my comfort zone because you have to put work into it, like Karen said, you have to participate in the posting, where when I first started mine, it was more personal rather than, business related. And so you can be a lurker a lot more than if you wanted to affect your business,
I like how it's instantaneous. You can post a picture of a quilt, and before you even put your phone down or the walk away, it's like bing, 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 and just like you just talk to people in Australia within 2 minutes of posting a picture of a quilt, and that's the part that amazes me. It's just instantaneous.
Yeah, it is neat to be able to talk to people from kind of anywhere, but. I'm in the same boat with the handing out the cards and all of that stuff. I did that, and then I can remember at a certain point, shops would be like, you want to bring some more of those flyers over? No, no, we can stop now. I have too much to do. But for me, I don't really find that, like, let's say Facebook, I don't see it as a getting business thing, because mostly I'm not really friends with any of my customers. So if I would say, hey, I'm having a sale, who's going to see it as a bunch of other quilters? So it's really, in that way, I don't really use it that way. I don't think.
And more of my followers are customers and people looking for quilts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, as, like, for me, as my, whatever you want to call it, business evolved, then when you start to teach, then that changes everything, because now you want to reach other quilters.
Right.
That is good. But I think you also have to weigh, if you're doing both, like, let's say well, some people do every social media platform out there, but if you are doing, let's say, Facebook and Instagram, I find it really interesting to post, you post generally the same thing on both platforms, and you can really learn a lot about your followers, I guess, or following, because for me anyway, I get very different people. At first I thought, why would I do both? And I'm posting the same thing. There really are mostly very different groups of people on each one.
Totally.
There are a lot of crossovers, but it's very different. So I find that very interesting, how that works. I find that Facebook is more people you actually know. Like, I know these people. And so the interaction is different. I think it's more of a personal thing. If you post something that's not quilt related on Facebook, you tend to get more interaction because you actually know these people, where Instagram's the opposite. For me anyway, it seems that all they want to see is quilting. And if it's not quilting, not interested. And I'm sure that's different by different people.
Kind of true. Like, if I get, when we got the new puppy, my Instagram, I was posting all these puppy pictures, and like my followers just leveled out. Post a couple quick quilts, your followers go up. Go back to puppies, it levels out. So yeah, they don't want to see my puppies.
I find that so interesting, because I've seen the exact opposite in the growth of my pages. If I don't inject some personal stuff as well as some just random humor, like jokes or something, like funny memes that don't have anything to do with quilting, if I look back in my insights, like my statistics on your most engaging and popular posts on Facebook, it was one that it was a dog and a cat together, and it was a silly joke. It had nothing to do with quilting at all. And the other one was, the little cabinet or the little drawer on your sewing machine that you usually keep like your other feet and stuff in. Well, I saw a picture and I shared it, and somebody had M&Ms inside there. And said, oh, that's what that space is for. And I shared that, and that is my second top post. And in that week that I had that post, I think I got 1,000 new followers just from that, which was just blew my mind. And then the next week I posted something I was really proud of that I had quilted, and it was like, I got this little. So I think you have to have a balance.
You also have to pay attention to your post times. I mean, it's an art to actually working social media for your benefit.
Yeah, that's hard, because I feel like I post what I want to. Like, okay, the quilt's done now, I can post this, or the light's just right now, and I post it. And you're right, there are certain times where more people are active, and times where people are busy making supper. And
Well, my daughter's a blogger, and she has a lot of followers. She's an influencer. However, she told me about getting this app that actually tells you when to post. So I got it and I tried it. And to me, I got tired of it, because I didn't see that when I followed what the app suggested, that it would make any more impact than if I just, I think for me, I noticed the weekends, I don't like to post on the weekends, like quilting stuff, because they're, oddly enough, not as many people on. But of course, now things have changed anyhow right now with the pandemic and more people being home. So, but yeah, I mean, I tried the app. It didn't do nothing for me. So,
Yeah, I didn't find it to be accurate either.
no.
I've never used anything like. Do you guys schedule your posts? For
Some,
certain
yes.
things then? Yeah.
Sometimes, yes.
You'd have to have them saved up to do that.
Exactly. I'm lucky to have one.
I'll do it when, like, I have a series of something, or I'll schedule those ahead of time, but for, not for client work, but for some things I will schedule because, hey, I have an hour of free time. Let me sit down and do something instead of trying to rush a post and it doesn't really say what I want it to say or it's worded wrong. So me and words are not best friends. So, so if I have the time to plan it out, I will.
Yeah, and the Facebook algorithms can be funny too. So I think that if you're constantly posting links to things, compared to like organic posts that you've created with a photo, if you're posting exactly the same format all the time, I think there's something that it almost Facebook thinks you're a bot or something, and
You're only sharing. You get
right. So you don't show up in people's news. So you have to mix up what you're sharing all the time. Some of it just text, some of it text in a picture, some of it a link, those kinds of things, just to keep yourself appearing in people's news feeds.
I also find that for me personally, that if I post a single picture, quilting picture versus, a post with multiple pictures, the multiples usually do much better than a single picture.
especially on Instagram.
That's exactly what I meant. I'm sorry, on Instagram, yes. So I noticed
If somebody refreshes, it flips the picture, so they think it's a new post.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to know, I guess, to start watching each of them. If you're posting the same thing and you see, who's liking these things and who's not, and where's your, because it truly becomes work.
It is.
It is like a little bit of a job sometimes, Sometimes, you ever post something and then after about half an hour, you think, oh, why did I post that?
Never.
Sounds terrible, but sometimes like I did it when I shouldn't have done it, and now everyone's asking me things and I feel obligated to answer and I just don't have the time, and I'm like, could just kick myself, like, why did I do it now?
Should have waited until you had an hour to answer questions.
Yeah.
People like that engagement though, right? Sorry, Ava.
Yeah. That's okay. I just want to say,
go ahead.
Jody, that's a good point though, because that's part of, I think, social media that was hard for me to learn, that you actually have to interact, when people, whether you just like it, but certainly go back and make sure you answer the questions,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where it becomes a job, depending on how many questions you get. Sorry, Sharon.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We can't tell when the next person's wanting to say something. Do you guys find that the interaction is different on different platforms? So I find that there's way more chatter on Facebook than there is on Instagram. Instagram just seems like you get these little likes and people just keep scrolling, but there seems to be more talking on Facebook. Do you think so?
Yeah. I mean, Instagram's more of like a 1 or 2 word comment, like, oh, great design, something like that. There's never paragraphs of questions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's easier to share on Facebook than it is to share on Instagram. It's just so much faster, right?
Well, unless you have reposts.
Yeah, so you have to have a second app, and then you have to go through the steps to do it, whereas Facebook, you can just easily do that with just a quick.
But you have to be careful, because the more you share, the further down the algorithm you go.
Well, but don't you find, so for me, I know what I feel like the difference too between the two is that I think Instagram works much better as a networking tool.
Yeah.
Because it goes farther and people are more apt to grab it and, tag their friend or whatever, where Facebook is not so much that way.
No, and it's easier to go find something. Like say you had saw something earlier in the day and now it's so far down your feed. It's easier to go find something in Instagram than it is in Facebook, because Facebook continually reorders that feed throughout the day.
Yeah, based on what was posted or.
Mm-hmm. So
And I personally find that I get more questions or comments on Instagram for the same post versus, Facebook. Number one, I have more followers on Instagram than I have on Facebook. And, generally most of us post the same, content on both. So
Have you been on one longer than the other, though?
Pardon me?
Have you been on one longer than the other?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
But you kept your Facebook somewhat private for a while, didn't you, Ava?
No.
No? I don't have an answer for that then.
Well, I did start a second Facebook, which is, business, and that's public. And I do get more interaction on that versus the other one. So it's interesting to watch that. I mean, I don't spend much time looking at algorithms, but, because, I just go by the numbers. I'm good.
I don't look at the algorithms, but you know how they affect what you're doing. So.
Right.
And then they'll go change them once you figure it out. So.
But that's another good point, especially right now. We talked about getting quilting business, maybe or maybe not, or if you're teaching. But especially right now with wanting to do online classes, you're only going to get students to take your classes if you have a presence. So right now, especially, it's super important to figure out what's going on with your following. Why are they following? What do they want? Compared to just a couple of months ago. And I think we all need to, look at that more closely, depending on what our goals are.
Step it up.
Am I the only one who, like, right now, I barely go on there?
You're an explorer.
Like, there's too many people that are just on there. I just feel like, oh my gosh, this is the same stuff. Like, I feel like I'm stuck in this never ending. Not that, it's just, oh my gosh. And not as many quilting pictures. Like, I think we are all home. Aren't most of us doing a lot more quilting, but there's not as many quilting pictures.
No, it's turned
Not
into.
to be picky.
I don't know. Instagram is still wonderfully quilty in my world. Facebook has gone into a not nice place.
Well,
and that word.
The other thing I like about Instagram is that you can follow someone without having to be so chatty. Like I have other interests. So my feed is mostly quilting, but I have tons of other things like drawing people that I follow and architecture and art and just different, like you can incorporate your hobby into it, where Facebook is, I don't know, in my opinion, a lot of the private groups, I mean, we're all in some, specific groups, I'm sure. Some of them have just some of the nastiest people. There's a lot of nastiness in there where someone posts something and people are just not that nice in them. If it's not run by a person or an organization that's watching what's happening in their group. So.
And the other thing I like, Instagram doesn't control what you see. Like if you follow an architecture page and an art page and a museum page, you'll see whenever they post, as long as you scroll far enough in your Instagram.
Yeah.
On Facebook, if you don't interact with a page that you follow, it falls out of your feed. Even though you say you follow it.
Yeah.
Even though you click, I want to see all posts, it falls out of your feed unless you interact with it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think maybe it works differently too, because on Facebook and Instagram, you can go on there on both and search by hashtags. But I think that people don't, use the hashtag stuff so much on Facebook.
Right.
So when you put something on Instagram, I think that's why the reach is so much broader.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you hashtag something that's not even, I mean, it might be a quilting post, but my one hashtag had nothing to do with quilting, and it kind of interlaced with something else, then you brought these people into that who aren't even quilters, which I think is really neat. I mean, it just grows so fast.
Well, my bridge quilt, right? My Trenton Makes bridge quilt. Somebody from the Toll Bridge Commission, which is where the bridge is, was just Googling images of the bridge, and my quilt popped up. And now it's going to be in their annual report.
That's cool.
Yeah,
And they didn't believe it was a quilt. I'm like, no, it's really a quilt. It's not a picture. So, but like none of that would have happened without, you know, them Googling and looking, and it just, it boggles my mind sometimes how these things happen, you know. Total dumb luck, I guess.
So maybe we should take a quick break, and I think we should talk about hashtags a little bit more. I think that's a really good way to pick back up after the break. So we'll see you guys in just a minute.
Hi, this is Andrew from Gamble. Today I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to adjust the belts on your Statler. I'm going to move my machine to the center of the table and drop the X belt. With the belt at the center of the table, the clip should hang about level with, but not below the lower belt. So if it hangs down here, you'll really need to tighten it. First, I'm going to remove this belt cover. Now I'm going to roll the belt off the pulley. Back at the center of the table, I can use my belt buckle adjusting screws to tighten or loosen the belt. When you think your adjustment is about right, it's time to roll it back onto the pulley. Be careful not to pinch yourself. We're going to put the cover back on.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your little break there. We left off talking about hashtags, and I think that Instagram, at least, is kind of all about the hashtag. We were talking on the break a little bit between ourselves about how it's crazy. Actually, we were talking about that before the break, weren't we? How it's crazy that everything just blends. You would tag something and somebody starts following you, you get new followers from a totally different industry or someplace that you wouldn't have never expected. It's interesting to see where those opportunities take you. So hashtags, obviously there's like the core hashtags. And I don't know if anybody else does this, but you don't have to type them in all individually. You can copy and paste them from your notes in your phone. I hope that helps somebody out there who's listening, because I know a lot of people who have sat there and they sit and type every single one in. And I think, you know, you can just kind of use your notepad on your phone to do that. But then don't forget to add some hashtags to your regular group of hashtags that are really specific to your post. Very specific, so that people can actually follow your progress on a particular quilt, maybe, if you want to tag that quilt. Any other hashtag tips that you guys have?
Be consistent. You know, well, I don't mean not to change it up, but like with this, like if we tag the latest thread, make sure on every post that hashtag is on every latest thread post. You know, you can't forget your hashtags, because it'll fall off the.
But like Jody was saying earlier, you know, because she follows different groups or has different hobbies, that it's interesting how they're in a mix. So I agree with Sharon. You should have a core, you know, hashtag lineup. but then, you know, mix it up and add something that's maybe unexpected, you know, and then I think it's fun to watch, you know, if it makes a difference, you know, if you add followers, maybe because that's the one hashtag, you know, that linked them to your page, you know, so it's interesting.
I had somebody like a post of mine this morning that was from like 2016. And I'm like, how did you even find that?
Yeah, they were stalking your feed. They were in your page.
They were going way far back.
Or did you check the hashtags on that picture? Because maybe it was something they were searching.
Well, you know what it was? It was a picture of a runway model with a dress made out of hexagon stone altogether. And maybe it was because she was a beautiful redhead and had this gorgeous dress on. Maybe somebody just randomly found it from a different hashtag instead of, you know, that they were actually scrolling that far back on the feed. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see where you get it. Once you put it out there, it's out there.
It's out there.
It's out there forever, right? Stuff that you've forgotten posted.
Yeah. Well, one other thing with Instagram, though, that the one thing I really, really don't like is that you have to check it like every day for these random strange people who start following you, men usually.
Oh,
And
you're
it
right.
like is a thing. You know, sometimes if I'm somewhere teaching, like I don't have time to be looking through all that stuff. And I'm sure some have slipped through because I just didn't have time, you know, that day to sit down and let me see what kind of crazy people are on here today.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really
All followers
weird.
are good followers.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
I think one of the other thing that I would think would be good to mention for people to know about social media is that if you follow people that you admire their work or you look up to them or you want to learn from them, that kind of thing, you have to remember that those people are always posting their best work.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Take pictures of the ugly stuff.
I love seeing a picture from somebody that makes them real, that makes me go, oh, you know, she had to use her seam ripper too. You know, things that make them a little bit more relatable. And I try to do that, but sometimes it's really hard.
Well, I think, I don't want to say that sounds weird, but I share all of my mistakes as they're happening. Well, I don't share them as they're happening, but like I photograph as it's happening, how I fix it. And I share that in my blog where I can be totally wordy and type out everything. But yeah, I do share mistakes because we're all real.
Yeah,
sure.
And it's even people that we look up to, those people compare themselves to other people that they look up to as well. So, you know, I hope, I guess one message that I would want to say to people would just be that, you know, to not be too hard on yourselves, because you can't compare yourself to all of the awesome work that everybody else is posting, because you may not see all the cruddy stuff that they're not posting as well, right? You compare yourself to your own.
You compare yourself to yourself yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah. And social media can be just horrid for that, because you can be scrolling and then turn it off and just feel so down. And so I think it's a good reminder for people that, you know, to not get lost in this trap of everybody's so much better than me.
But I also wanted to mention, I think it also makes a difference. For instance, you know, Jody, she posts mostly or all of what she works on, whether it's, you know, samples or quilts that she's working on. Whereas I quilt for other people still, and so it's mostly, you know, their quilts. So my point being that if you look at my feed, you know, that is a mishmash of, you know, whatever I get, versus someone like Jody who it's, you know, very specific because it's her stuff. You know, I think that also makes a difference because, you know, it draws different types of people. You know, you have your everyday people that like your, you know, edge to edge because that's what they relate to. than, the ones that like your custom stuff. Whereas, with Jody's stuff, again, sorry, as an example, because it's very specific, so it's people that just love her stuff. So it's very different, I think, based on what you're able to post.
Well, that's why I separated mine. I have my client work and then I have my own work, because
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, there would never be a post on my own work, hardly ever. So I don't separate it.
I think they like to see it all.
It's a balance thing, right? Sometimes, like, people will say, very often actually, I'll get messages from people that say, you ought to watch what you're posting, you're sharing way too much stuff. Now, these are people I really don't even know usually. And I think, do you really think I'm showing you everything? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not. Do you know what I'm saying by that? Like, so if I was going to try to post things because maybe I'm going to teach a class on this, right? So you want people to understand what's going to be in the class. You want people to want to take the class. But I would never show everything in the class, because then why do they need to take the class?
Right.
If that makes sense. But I thought it's strange when I started to get those kind of things from people, because it is a balance. I mean, you have to, if you don't share things, no one will know what you're doing.
Right.
But if you share too much, they don't need to take your class, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
It's like a fine line. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and even if you quilt for customers solely, that's what you're doing and that's what you're posting. It's, you have a lot of competitors generally in most every town. So there's that too. It's a really weird thing, and even if you watermark a picture, sometimes you'll find one of your pictures pop up somewhere and it's someone else pretending that's their work, and they cropped your watermark off. So it's a really, it's a weird animal, social media, I think. I mean, you really have to, I don't know, you have to kind of be diligent in a way.
It's a job. Social media is a job.
It is a job. It really is. I mean,
it's necessary evil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you see that at least once a week. I'm closing my Facebook. Everybody's stealing my stuff. Well,
but you really can't.
You can't. And like I did have that problem. I mean, somebody used my actual quilt as their profile picture, and they're like, "Look at my work," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's my work." So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, but if you don't put it out there, you don't exist. I mean, you do in this much, but if you put it online, you exist like this much. So,
yeah, and I don't feel like it's about, I mean, some people maybe, but I don't care how many followers I have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everyone doesn't like what everyone does, so obviously if one person has this particular style, then probably people who like that are following them, as opposed to, finding people whose style they love. I don't know. Although
actually, that's a neat thing though with Instagram is that you can not just follow people, you can follow a particular hashtag.
Yeah.
And so you end up seeing, so if you like modern quilts and you follow the hashtag modern quilting, you're going to see that from so many different artists and see such a wide variety of stuff versus having to find and seek out those individuals that you want to follow.
Right. Yeah.
It's a good tool.
It's a thing.
So basically the gist is social media is powerful and you should be there, especially for business growth. I mean, that's the new word of mouth nowadays, right? It's just so easy for people to share posts and interact like that, especially nowadays when that's really the only way that we can stay in touch with people. So
yeah.
Any other special tidbits you guys want to offer?
I think we covered it.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? It was pretty good. Well, if you guys have any questions at all about social media, or you want to check out our social media pages just to kind of get a peek as to we all do things a little bit differently. Our businesses are all slightly different. And so we're going to share those with you so that you can go and take a peek. And we love to follow people back that follow us. So if you want to go and check out our pages, we'd love to interact with you there. And we will see you in another week for the next episode of The Latest Thread. And again, if you have any special requests or topics that you'd like to see or questions that you'd like us to cover, just use that hashtag, The Latest Thread, in one of the Gamma groups, and we will be searching that up to make sure we don't miss it. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.